I don't know who the guys were that were saying Jalen Brunson's going to do this in the NBA. I certainly wasn't one of them. I was very respectful of his ability level, but I wasn't out there saying he's going to be all NBA. He's going to be a finals MVP. He's going to lead a team to a championship. I didn't look at it that way, and I was wrong. And so I'm less inclined now to just say, hey, he's small, put him further down. I don't feel that way anymore. And Fleming's, my thing is if you're good enough, you're big enough, and I think he's good enough.
Welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the coach Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. Noah Basketball is used by 7 of the 8 teams in the Elite 8 and all 4 teams in the Final 4, as well as all 30 NBA teams. Let me tell you, make sure you get yours today for your high school, college team so that you can improve shooting as I did with my teams. Make sure we contact our friends at Noah. And the big thing now going forward, traditionally, every year on the draft, Zach and I schedule the greatest announcer in the history of television, Jay Bilas, Hall of Famer, Emmy Award winner, to do the NBA draft. This is his 24th year doing the draft on ESPN, and he is unbelievable in his presentation. You're going to find this to be so compelling. The background, the deep dive he gives into you, you'll learn something about Richie Saunders no one of us knew, as well as many other players. But I think it's really important that you really get a handle on this draft as it's coming be Tuesday and Wednesday, June 23rd and 24th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, so before we go to that, want to give you a quick update, a little housekeeping on our Coaching You Live clinic in Vegas, 18th clinic. We've had 18th year of our Coaching You clinics. Might be our best one yet. New format, July 10, 11, and 12. 4 speakers per morning from 8:30 to noon, to 1 p.m., I'm sorry. 4 NBA speakers. And then you have your afternoons off unless you're signing up for our overtime, which is for people that have an interest in going to the front office, either in professional basketball or now in colleges. We have front office positions. We have 4 of the very best teachers about front office NBA basketball that are out there. How to scout, collective bargaining agreement, salary cap, how to organize a team, how to put a team together. We really try to, click in on all things. We do 2 speakers a day on Friday and Saturday. It's a separate sign up. Go to coachingyoulive.com/2026 for info on that. Make sure you sign up. Also, Jay Bilas. Jay Bilas is our keynote speaker at the Larry Shyatt Clinic at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, August 18 and 19. This event is his 39th year in running. Shy is his baby. It has always been a very small 30, 40, 50 people when it was at the University of Florida. We moved it to Charlotte last year. The people there have been amazing hosts to us, and we're opening it up now because Shy is a believer in educating everyone in the community. And so we have an opportunity this year to offer to all college assistant and head coaches, doesn't matter, Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, whatever, or any pro coach, G League, etc., to come. It is free of charge. NCAA rules prevent us from allowing high school coaches to come because we give free meals, etc. But these are the ultimate tapes that people wanted to get videos for years. Shy has allowed us, Coaching You Plus, to have the videos. So if you have our app, our Coaching You Plus app, go to coachingyouplus.com, plus.com, and you can sign up and get that plus 500 other clinic speakers. It's an incredible value, but make sure you sign up for that so that you can also, just like you're there. For others that want to come, Jeremy Shyatt, his son, go to JSHYATT at EXCELSM.com to sign up. So we're going to take a quick commercial with Noah, come back and listen to Hall of Famer Jay Bilas on the 2026 NBA Draft. Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. It must be draft time. Jay Bilas, Coaching You faculty member, one of the great friends in my career. It's wonderful to have you for our annual draft show.
It is always wonderful to be with you, Brendan. Thanks for having me.
So June 23, 24 is when you work in the summer. Okay, that's your for the how many times? 25th, 26th, 27th year of
I think this is 24th year. I'm pretty sure. It was 2003 was my first draft.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we got a good one this year. I know all year long you got a front row seat and also a practice observation for many of these guys. So everyone's excited, the greatest draft of all time, so that we could tank even more, which is all bullshit, frankly. But you got an inside seat. So give us some of your thoughts on the draft.
You know, Brendan, I think I don't usually catalog drafts like this is the best draft or something like that. My mind doesn't really work that way. But one thing that I feel down to my socks is this is the deepest crop of talented freshmen that I can ever recall in my 24 years of doing the draft. And it was an extraordinary year in college basketball for young players. And I remember one day specifically, it was January 27th of this year. We had three players. I saw one of them live. Kingston Flemings of Houston went for 42, but we had three freshmen go for 40 in a day.
Yep.
One day. And that had never happened before. And you know, you got all kinds of guys that scored over 40 in a game as freshmen. And that doesn't even include you know, Cameron Boozer having 38 like four times or something, you know, banging on the door of 40 time and time again. It's an extraordinary group, and you just don't see depth like this very often, which is why so many NBA teams are excited about this draft and aren't concerned too much about, hey, you know, we're picking six. They know at number six they're going to get a really good player, and some of the decisions will be taken away from them, which isn't all a bad thing.
So when you know, I think one of the things that I think you've done this so much, you have a philosophy of the draft as I did as a front office person or as a coach, in that all of our quote draft experts, they're cataloging the players as they feel they are ranked, like college, high school rankings, 1 through whatever, 1 through 100 at ESPN. And my thing, the way I do rankings, and I always see you always do your best available, is that when I do the draft, I only focus on who I need for my team.
Mhm.
You know, and so I think it's really, really important. So as we have these teams ranked, and I don't want you to go and pick out who you think they might take, but let's just go like Washington, for instance. They have the number 1 pick. Boy, do they need it in a good way. Uh, you're sitting there. You have the expertise of this, and they can't go wrong at any of the first 4 players, as most people would say. Give me your feelings on what
You
they do, what a
you know,
team like that should do.
that's a great perspective you shared about, when you're in a front office, you're ranking players based upon your team. And, the way I do it, just as an aside, is I don't do like a mock draft. Like the
Right.
Wizards need this, or they're going to take this, and this is the information we have that indicates that this guy's going. I do my list based upon, and it's not a hard and fast thing, but I want my best available list. I want somebody to be able to look at it in 5 years and think it was right.
Mhm.
That
I like
it's so
that.
in some ways you're projecting out, saying, "I think this guy is going to be the best prospect out of this draft." Um,
That's
so
good.
for Washington, I think when you have one of these high picks, a top 5 pick, absent something extraordinary, I think the best available player, best available talent
Right.
is a pretty good way to go about it. This is an unusual draft in that it's not a no brainer. It doesn't go without discussion and perhaps reasonable disagreement. So I think that Darryn Peterson of Kansas is the best and most talented player in this draft. The only caveat to that is because he had this cramping issue that started in September, and he had a full body cramp where he had to go to the hospital, had to call 911,
Yeah.
and it persisted for a while, and that still is in the back of my mind, even though now I know
Me too.
kind of what went with that, and I've talked with him about it, and it was explained to me. That's still kind of in the back of your mind that he didn't show us, even though he averaged 20 points a game, he had unbelievable stretches in games where you're like, he's the best player. The full body of work gives you a little bit of pause. But absent that, if we were going with him coming out of high school, I would have said he's number one. He's a number one player. There were no issues about his competitiveness, his want to. He's the best. Like he's the best scorer. He's fluid and smooth as a scorer. It looks effortless for him. It's like watching Ernie Els swing a golf club. It looks effortless. And I think he's going to be an outstanding defender. I think he's underrated with his athleticism and his defensive ability. So that would be my number one. But I could see Washington taking AJ Dybantsa because he's 6'8", 6'9", with a 7-foot wingspan. He fits the suit in the NBA.
Yeah.
And he's got an NBA caliber mid-range game right now where he can take these long strides, get the spots, and rise up and shoot over defenders that are right on him. And he can really get downhill. He proved to be a capable rebounder. Um, like you can't. I agree with you. I don't think you can go wrong. It's kind of like almost your risk tolerance. Does Peterson's issues last year give you pause? If it does, you go with Dybantsa. But my thing is, and this may be the wrong way to look at it, but they say, well, Peterson would be at 2. If you're going to take him number 2, why wouldn't you take him number 1?
Right.
Like it's so he's okay at 2, but at 1, no, we're not doing that. I think he's the most talented player.
Yeah, and I think Dybantsa, when I see him having coached Dominique Wilkins his rookie year in Atlanta, I see I, Dominique had that explosive jump, but Dybantsa has that almost MJ Dominique mentality of showmanship, and the
Yeah.
size is outrageous. I see star all over him. I really do. Peterson, I thought a year ago, no doubt in my mind. And then I have those questions that you had in my head because I'd never seen a player have that for sustained period.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all. I mean, one game, no problem. Sustained, it's unusual for a young person, and that's why I was just hoping that he didn't have something wrong with him medically. That's all I was praying for, and it sounds like he's fine.
It
So
sounds like
that's
he's fine. And
yeah,
he's a really quiet kid. He's
yeah,
soft spoken. But that I don't remember when he was in high school, anybody going, he's soft spoken, you got to stay away from that. Like that's not an issue. When he gets on the court, like when I was there at Allen Fieldhouse when he went head to head against Dybantsa, and there was no question in the first half who was having the better game. I mean, Peterson was, you couldn't take your eyes off him. And then he started cramping in the second half and came out. And Kansas wound up still winning the game. Dybantsa did not have a good game for him. But you left there going, man, Peterson could have had 40 in that game. And that's one of the things that I try to think about, with this human nature thing about the cramping being in, you can't get it from rattling in your brain, is that what kid or what player would come out of a game when they're on their way to 40? His body wasn't letting him do it. But at the end of the year, last 10 games he's playing, and he missed a bunch of games, but last 10 games, I think it was, he was averaging like 32 minutes a game. So they figured it out.
Good. Uh, now you have amazing insight into the Duke program, and you know Carlos so well. Um, I've watched Cam since he was in high school. I love that kid, everything he's about. And everyone says, well, he's the safe pick. Low ceiling, uh, but has already started with a very high floor, whatever the hell that means. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, but I know one thing, he's going to be damn good in this league. Now they say safest pick. The analytics love him. Well, shit, what about basketball people? I mean, like, tell me about it. You know them and you saw them up close practicing games an awful lot. Cam Boozer.
I think he's the best pure basketball player in the draft.
Right.
And he's got incredible processing skills. There are a lot of players that understand the game and can explain the game to you. There aren't as many of those that can process it in real time under pressure. And Cameron can do that. He's an excellent passer. He sees a lot of double teams, and he saw a lot of different defenses come at him, and was able to process things in real time at a very high level that is beyond his years, and was the most productive player in college last year. I think his worst game was like 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in a game where Duke blasted the other team, so he didn't play very much. But did better than that in every other game he played. And kind of incredible, really, the consistency and high level consistency that he showed. He had a couple games here and there where he went, he had one game where he went like 3 for 17. I think that was in the ACC tournament. He had a poor shooting game, but other than
Right.
that, his level of consistency that really, I think, indicated a really high level of maturity and preparation and all that stuff. And this even keel that he has is really impressive. But he shot over 40% from three, and he shot a high volume of them. He operated at times as a pick and roll ball handler
It's
with Isaiah
amazing.
Evans. Like they would play like almost a pick and pop thing where you'd have to stay with Boozer, and then he's such a good passer, he'd kick it to Evans for an open three. That's how they won the Florida game. But I think the knock on him, if you want to call it a knock, is he's not a world class athlete. It's not that he's not athletic. He's athletic, but yeah, better than anybody. I mean, the NBA, you got some world class athletes. He's not one of those, but neither is Alperen Şengün or Nikola Jokic. And he's different from those guys. He's not the same. He's only
Sure.
6'8", 6'9". But I'm like you. I don't have any doubt that he's going to be an outstanding NBA player for a long, long time. And he's worthy. Like he would be worthy of the one pick in this draft.
Right.
I don't think they're going to take him one, but he's worthy of that.
I also think that Billy Donovan, our friend Billy Donovan, had a great thing when he had the 3 lottery picks on his second back-to-back championship team at Florida. Horford, Noah, and of course Brewer. And when everyone was calling him about Horford, I think Horford averaged 9 points a game.
Mhm.
And he said, if you're considering winning it to be important, pick Al Horford. He affects winning. I think that's Boozer. you
I think
know,
that's right. And like this better than anybody. Like he's won his whole career. And it's
everywhere.
one thing to win your high school with your high school team, but USA basketball, he's got nothing but gold medals. You saw what he did at Duke last year. I mean, they had a 19-point lead against UConn and wound up losing it. But I think he only was on the losing end last year 3 times
That's
during the season. Pretty incredible.
yeah.
And an outstanding young man. Like he doesn't. There are no question marks with him. It's just kind of I think what you had mentioned about the ceiling is just how high can he go, and I think with knowing how to play and being as skilled as he is, I don't doubt that he's gonna process everything at a high level in the NBA.
He has his thing to me is consistency and sustained excellence,
Mhm.
you know, which to me is so damn valuable in this league, you know. Our Bulls are picking, 4th, and I think have maybe the most dynamic athlete in the whole draft, Caleb Wilson, if they pick him. You got to see him up close. I know you love him. You've heard it talk about him. He went through a couple injuries, which they're not effective at all now. But what do you think of Caleb as a young man, as a player?
Love him, and I think you're right. He's one of the most dynamic athletes in this draft because he's got this quick twitch ability where I remember watching him in practice early last year, and you thought something was closed off for him, and he would just jump over somebody and punch it out of nowhere. And you're like, what? Really high level rebounder, especially on the defensive end. And I think as his game gets more refined, and it will, he's going to continue on an upward trajectory. He's got a very nice shooting touch, like as a turnaround jumper that he could shoot from out to 15 feet. He shoots it with fluidity. He's not a very good 3-point shooter right now. He's not horrible, but he can improve there, and I think he will. But he's also got an incredible motor. He plays really hard, and he's slight of build. He's strong, but he's not this physical specimen. But I think he's going to get stronger as he goes forward and continue to add to his game. But talk about a terrific young man. I mean, Hubert
Yeah,
Davis, his coach last year, would say, he could win mayor of Chapel Hill tomorrow and be student body president. Like everybody loves him, and
how about
he's very engaging. And Bobby Marks, who does interviews with players, and said in all the years he's been doing that Caleb Wilson, that may have been the best interview he's ever had.
my God. I think Caleb Wilson, he's one of those guys that 5 years from now we might say he was the best player in the draft.
Yes.
You know, I see his ceiling is so freaking high, and I just think that's and I think that's where sometimes the draft people have a hard time projecting 19 and 20-year-olds to Michael Jordan, as we both know, he doesn't win his championship until he's 28. Isaiah doesn't win till they're 28, even though they were great when they were 19 and 20. I can only imagine what this kid's gonna be in his mid to late 20s, just scary. Now, those 4 players, consensus, they'll go in some order in the first 4. Okay, now the draft, they say, starts at number 5 with and this is where I think we could see trades, we could see maneuvering to get the guy you want or not pay. I think we'll also see a lot of trading in the mid to late first round of people getting out of the draft that are maxed out cap wise, just so they don't want a first round pick. But tell me now, this is when point guard university comes into play,
Yes.
I think, right?
Yeah.
Uh, or guard university, we should say. So the Clippers, if we go in order, Clippers have a pick. All these guards here: Clippers, Brooklyn, Sacramento, probably all going guards. What do you like in that order there?
Well, I
Not
mean, so
not
the
by
guards.
teams, but your best, the best Jay's best.
Yeah, so 5, 6, and 7, I think the guards that are vying for those spots, I would say Keaton Wagler of Illinois, Darius Acup Jr. of Arkansas, and Kingston Flemings of Houston would be the guys that I would put there. There may be a scenario where somebody might say, "Hey, we can get a 7-3 a Mara from Michigan there," but I tend to think that he'll go a little bit later than that. But it depends on what you like, and my sense is that Keaton Wagler of Illinois is the one that I would put at the top of that heap, not by much. It's a hard choice, but Wagler, he's a 6'5" guard. He can play point guard. He can play off the ball, and when he plays off the ball, he's a really good shooter. And he reminds me a lot of when Tyrese Halliburton was at Iowa State. You know,
Good
he
comparison.
he's really difficult to speed up. He really does play at his own pace, and it's like the game slows down for him. And that performance, he had a number of them, but the one performance that sticks out above all others is he went into it was January 27th.
Hmm.
He went into Mackey Arena at Purdue and put 46 on the Boilermakers, and that's the highest point total for a freshman in Big Ten history.
Wow.
Um, Really good shooter and can get to the rim. Has some shape to his game. Good passer. Not the most physically gifted, I would say. He's not like this speed merchant athletically, but he's not without athleticism. And with his savvy, he gets where he wants to go. So I really like him. I mean, people probably did say the same thing about Halliburton, that he wasn't the best athlete, and his shot wasn't, looked funny, but it went in. And look, he was an all NBA player before he got hurt. So I would say Wagler first, and then I'm a big fan of Darius Acuff Jr. He's small, like he's only 6'2", but he does have long arms. So he's got length that puts him, he's got the length of a guy about 6'6", 6'7", and he can really score. Led the SEC in scoring, had 39-point games, whatever. But he can get to the rim like it's like guarding a bowling ball. Like
I
he's
like
so
that.
compact and strong, and so he can get to the rim, and he's a really good finisher with that length and athleticism. And he can shoot it. He can pull up. He can create his own. And then he led the SEC in assists. And there hasn't been a player that led the SEC in both scoring and assists since Pete Maravich did it, and that's going back a ways. The one thing that gives you a little bit of pause with Acuff is whether you do it analytics or eyes. He did not stand out defensively, and this is what I think. And
Okay,
maybe I'm giving it.
I'm anxious to see if you're on my page with that. Go ahead, please.
I think that because that was not a deep basketball team that he had at Arkansas, there was no scenario in which he could foul out of a game. Like he
Amen.
needed to be on the floor, and in fact, he played hurt all year. He spent the second half of the year off the floor, basically wearing a walking boot. I don't think he wanted to get in any foul trouble, and I'm sure he took plays off as a result of it. But he's got a lot of want to as a player, and I think when it's important, and it will be in the NBA, he'll show himself to be a much better defender than he showed in his 1 year at Arkansas.
My philosophy of the college coaches, they're screwed for two reasons. Number one, um, I think the biggest thing is why we have only 5 fouls for college players. Makes absolutely no sense to me. These kids are here to showcase their talents. Why don't we give them 6? We don't take a football player off the field if he has 5 offsides or holding penalties or anything. Give the kids 3 fouls because referees can sit your best player down with 2 fouls in the first half, and he only plays 16 minutes in the first half. I just wish they would do this for the kid. And also, having been a college coach for 15 years, I know you have also been a coach at the collegiate level. I never wanted my best player to foul out. So, you know, and Cal is smarter than me by 100. So I'm telling him, stay on the floor. I agree with you 100%. And I've never drafted a player that I said, you know what? He's not a good defender. I drafted him because they were damn good offensive players, you know. And Isaiah would not guard you during the regular season, but he would guard you like hell during the playoffs, and you know, and that's the thing. I think you're 1,000%, but that is the knock on him. I know that.
It's interesting about the fouls. I was on the competition committee with the NCAA for a number of years, and the foul thing came up, and it's an important issue. But one of the things that stood out about it was an NBA game. There's 6 fouls, but it's 48 minutes.
Sure,
And in college, it's 5 fouls in 40 minutes. So it actually comes out to be the same amount of
correct.
time in the game per foul. But and I don't know whether this would work in the NBA. But I thought about it a little bit last night with Karl Anthony Towns. They give you a free throw for an illegal defense after the first warning. And rather than give 6 fouls, my thing would be whatever the foul number is, 6 in the NBA, 5 in college. Um, I would have it where, hey, if you keep a guy in the game after his fifth foul, then if he fouls, then it's an automatic free throw, and then whatever the foul was, ball out, you keep possession of the ball, or you shoot free throws on that. So you'd get an extra point, a chance for an extra point if that player fouled. I hate that. I don't know of any other game, maybe hockey, I guess, where you got a penalty box, but where the player's taken out of play based upon a referee's whistle. I'm not a
Yeah,
fan of that.
no, and especially with the fine time that we have now in college athletics,
Right,
with everything, kids, we don't want the kids. I don't want kids to come to school for 1 year and leave. I want them to come and enjoy the experience. It's better for them, and if they don't feel that, it's bad enough we're the only league in the world that doesn't play 4 quarters. It's bad enough that we don't do that.
right.
But make the rules conducive, as our friend Tom Izzo, who I've loved for 40 plus years as you do. Tom says, "Why don't we just use damn NBA rules? Because every one of our players wants to play in the NBA. Why are we trying to make like, we're pure,
Yeah,
It's,
and the NBA
you know,
rules are better. That's one
good.
reasson to do it.
And
If
like
you
you do
study
so
the
many,
game,
and you do NBA playoff games now. Can you imagine if Tom, Coach K and Tom Izzo were in the game last night and a tap in happened with 1.2 seconds? They would have looked like a horse's ass. They would have had to inbound the ball from full court, and they would have thrown it to the other team, and they'd say, "I can't believe he doesn't," because no one has a play going like that. At least he advanced the ball up, and now we have a play. I think it would help our great game, college game, even make it even greater. That's just
well, the funny part about that, and that came up when I was on the competition committee, is every coach that opines on it always thinks they're going to be on defense in that situation. And you're like,
right.
no, you're going to get the ball too now. It's actually better for the game. It's in the women's college game, and it's
It's
extraordinary.
fabulous. It's
Yeah, it's
fabulous for the
fantastic.
women. Yeah.
But yeah, there's an old school way of thinking in men's college basketball. That's
No,
that's why that's why we
Jay
don't have
Jay,
quarters.
at your age, and I'm a little younger than you, uh, so it's not old school, it's the right school. That's what
Yeah.
we say. It's the right school. Okay, so our Sacramento Kings are 7th, after, you know, wh there's still more guards there, with Flemings and, Mikal Brown and stuff like that, and Burris and stuff. Who do you like of that group?
I like Flemings, but again, we're getting into coin flip territory.
Sure.
Flemings is not as big as some of these other guys. Burries is I think a little bit. Well, I know that Mike L. Brown Jr. is bigger and longer. He's maybe a little bit taller, and then Burries is about the same size, but he's got a little bit more length. Kingston
Mm.
Fleming is not a long armed guard, but man, is he talented. And I know this probably shouldn't come into it, but for a guy that he's from San Antonio, comes from a basketball family. He could have gone a lot of different places, but he chose to go to Houston. And that's like choosing to be an Army Ranger.
I was just gonna say going to West Point instead of
Yeah,
going to Duke.
yeah.
Right.
Well, but,
Yeah.
I love Kelvin Sampson, but you go into his practices and you go, well, I don't even know if I can watch this, let alone play in it. Because it's just it's everything's so tough. I mean, I remember it was the last year or the year before. I'm at one of Kelvin's practices, and a kid in a drill took an unintentional shot to the throat, and he was having a hard time breathing. And I thought, oh my God, like we and Kelvin says, "Son, do you want us to call you an ambulance?" I was like, I think the answer may be yes. Um,
But he
but
couldn't talk.
yeah, he got up, he got back in the drill, and but Fleming signed up for that,
Yeah,
and he handled it
that's a
really
great
well.
point. That's a great point.
He never backed down. He never changed expression. Great mid-range game and an excellent finisher around the basket with creativity. He's got a burst to him when he puts it on the deck and gets to the basket. He can finish. He just doesn't have a ton of size. And but then you see, when you mentioned Isaiah Thomas and well, look what Jalen Brunson's doing. I don't know who the guys were that were saying Jalen Brunson's going to do this in the NBA. I certainly wasn't one of them. I was very respectful of his ability level, but
Sure.
I wasn't out there saying he's going to be all NBA. He's going to be a finals MVP. He's going to lead a team to a championship. I didn't look at it that way, and I was wrong. And so I'm less inclined now to just say, hey, he's small. Put him further down. I don't feel that way anymore. And Fleming's, my thing is if you're good enough, you're big enough, and I think he's good enough.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Okay, so now with Atlanta coming in and then, Dallas, our friend, Mike Schmitz is in there, great evaluator of talent, and he'll do great. At those picks 8, 9, 10, who are the best players and, all players, Jay's best list?
You know, eh, I have a Daimara of Michigan a little bit further down than 8, but for the Hawks, he makes a lot of sense.
100%. Yeah.
The Hawks, as you know, don't have a ton of size,
Right.
and even though they're really good, and some of the moves they made, like I did one of their games toward the end of the year when they started that long winning streak. They were playing at Milwaukee, and Quinn Snyder, who's a teammate of mine in college, had pointed
Right.
out there are only 4 guys on the team that had been there since he started with the Hawks a few years ago,
Wow.
and they've had a lot of turnover. But Mara gives them a he gives them a shot blocker rim protector that is an excellent passer. So Quinn could be very creative with Mara. Mara's 7'3". He's got the wingspan of a guy 7'6" or 7'7". He's got really good timing, so he can block and change shots around the rim. He's not the biggest and strongest guy, but he's got some toughness to him.
Yeah.
But I think his passing ability, and he'll throw one behind the back every once in a while, kind of to, show how skilled he is. It might not be the right play, and maybe Dusty might didn't like it. But he started his career at UCLA. He's from Spain and played for Mick Cronin at UCLA. He never really played much,
Right.
and then he goes to Michigan, and he's a key cog in that great wheel they had that won the national championship. So I think he's still on an upward trajectory as a player. And in today's NBA, having a guy that can protect the rim, I think is valuable. But if it's not him, it'll be somebody like Michael Brown Jr. or maybe Braden Burries of Arizona. And then I would also throw Nate Ament in there from Tennessee. Um,
That's
he's
the
really
guy.
an interesting prospect. Ament's like 6'10". He's got long arms too. It's not like he's crazy long for his height, but he's got a 7-foot wingspan. And he was probably more of a four-man when he got to Tennessee. And another decision, like, when you go to play for Rick Barnes, it's similar to Fleming's decision to go play for Kelvin Sampson. You're not going to play for Rick Barnes and have milk and cookies during practice. Although you'll get a kick out of this, Brendan. I was at one of Rick's practices earlier this year, and I'm sitting right next to kind of their scorers table in their practice facility, and Rick, somebody did something on the floor that he didn't like, and he went out there and he wore this kid out, and then he comes back and then he looks at me, he goes, "Hey, you want a brownie?" Like, what? Somebody had brought brownies, and they were on the scorers table. And he says, "Yeah, these are some of the best brownies you've ever tasted. You want a brownie?" I'm like, how did you go from lighting the world on fire to you want a brownie? Um, but
I love it.
he Rick played him at the three, and so that was an adjustment for him to play the wing. And everybody came after him and tried to be physical with him because they thought he's not big and strong, and he handled it. But he's very skilled, and I think he is another guy who has a really high ceiling. And then because this draft is so deep, I think sometimes Braden Burries of Arizona gets overlooked a little bit. He's a freshman. He's strong, good athlete, can really shoot it, can put it on the deck and handle it. And he guards, like he plays both ends of the floor. I like him a lot. He's San Bernardino kid, and earlier this season, I was there for I think their Texas Tech game, and I was talking to him after practice, and I had asked him like, "Who's the best team you guys have played?" And he had this look on his face like, I haven't thought about like I don't even remember the games we played. Like he was like looking forward all the time, like nothing in his rearview mirror mattered. And
Pretty
that
good.
kind of actually impressed me
Yeah,
that
pretty good.
he wasn't really thinking about, well, we've already played those games. I'm not worried about that. And he wasn't like dismissing the question, but it was something he wasn't really thinking about. And it was kind of an interesting kid that way.
One of the older players in the draft is our transfer from UAB to Dusty May at Michigan, Yaxel Lendenborg. Would have had a great year, and I'm so impressed with him. At UAB, I didn't really know him as not as a player, as a person. He's really a thoughtful, good kid, great mom, and the whole deal on that. He's almost physically, mentally, almost ready for the league right now,
Oh,
I
he
think.
is ready. Like he's like
Yeah,
24.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
like, which is not bad. I think
it's
people
not
think it's
bad at
bad. I
all.
think it's great. I think it's great, frankly.
Yeah, and he's the guy that like at 12, Oklahoma City's got the 12 pick, and he's one of those guys that kind of fits their program. You come in, they can plug him in right away. It's
Right
not
away.
nothing's about him. Like he was, I think he was Michigan's best player, and he acted like a leader, but he didn't walk around like he was above everybody. He brought
Right.
everybody along with him. And last year when he was playing for Andy Kennedy at UAB, he was one of two players to lead their teams at Division One in scoring, rebounding, assists, steals, and blocks, and the other was Cooper Flack. And
Wow.
he's a Mack truck out there with skill. So he's 6'8", he weighs like 245, and he's got like a 7'4" wingspan. He extended his range last year. He was more of an interior scorer, mid-range scorer at UAB. But I mean, he'd shoot the occasional three, but he really kind of showed that he can play all over the floor. Really good, good defender, and can guard interior players and can guard out on the floor. So I think he's one of those guys you bring him in, and you're not going to have an orientation program with him. He's mature right now, and he's NBA. He's plug and play. You don't have to wait on this guy.
His teammate, I didn't like him early on because I didn't like Morris Johnson. My goodness. He's a physically imposing guy that could have played in last night's game, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
yeah.
type of thing.
And
Uh,
the thing that sticks out about him
yeah. What
is,
do you think?
his height and length. Another guy with his wingspan's near 7'4". But he can, when he got put in the game or was in the game, you could switch. with him. Like he could switch out on a point guard and actually guard the guy. It
Yeah.
wasn't that he was switching out just to have somebody in front of him for a second. He could take him and shut him down. And early on in the season was getting steals against guys, and I think backed off of that a little bit because as the season went on, some of the point guards he's switching off on, he could pick fouls up on, but it can stay in front. I mean, he can really make a difference with his length, and a really good rebounder and super athletic. He started his career at Illinois playing for Brad Underwood and didn't, he wasn't a starter there and wound up getting hurt and lost the last part of the season. But he's got in today's game, like you're not always drafting somebody to turn into an
Right.
all NBA player. Like he's one of those guys you could see he could be an all defensive player in the NBA at some point. Like he's got that sort of ability level, and he's going to help you win. He may not be. You're not drafting him to be your best player. You're drafting him to help you win, and he can do that.
Let's go rapid fire through because we have so many great players through some of these guys. The kid from Washington, who's also, I believe, from Germany, is it Hennes Stanbach?
Hannes Steinbach, yeah.
Talk about him. Most people don't know about him.
He played at the University of Washington. He is from Germany. Close to 6'11", 7'2" wingspan, fits the suit. He actually, I think, measured a little bit better at the combine than people expected. And he's an outstanding rebounder. He got huge hands, and he can really rebound. He's got a good skill level and has a very nice touch, but his ability to rebound is what's gonna keep him in the league for a long time. He can get you extra possessions, and he's got a big body. So he's a compelling. In other drafts, you could see him going in the top 14 or something. He probably won't do that in this draft, although he could. Um, he kind of reminds me a little bit. He's probably not as good, but he's got a Laurie Markkinen feel to him. Um, but again, I think Markkinen was ahead of him his freshman year at Arizona.
Right. How about the kid Swain, who from Texas, who I really didn't know much about till he played well in the tournament, and stuff. S-
Yeah,
You know, Dylan Swain.
yeah.
Um,
Dalen Swain played at Xavier before he wound up at Texas.
so
With
he
Sean
brought him
Miller.
with him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a really good athlete on the wing. Another guy with great length as a wing player. So I would say like he's got all the physical ability that you want in an NBA wing, and he's a driver slasher. And he's just not a shooter. Like he doesn't
Uh-huh.
shoot it great. But he can guard. He sticks his nose in there and he'll rebound. So there's a lot to like. But he's not a floor stretching wing. He's more of a driver.
Christian Anderson from Texas Tech got hurt a few times during the year, but I loved him when he was healthy.
I love him. Another kid from Germany,
Right.
and originally, and he doesn't have a ton of size. He's a small guard. He's probably 6'1", maybe
Mm,
6'2",
right.
but really good in pick and roll situations. And he can create his own deep range, can pull up. Really kind of talented and explosive. But and he's he shot well over 40% from three, and his ball screen playmaking was really impressive, especially when he had JT Toppin with him, and Toppin got injured, and then Anderson had to take on even more
Right.
responsibility as a scorer, and it never backed off. Like the way he took over the second half in the Garden against Duke was pretty extraordinary. So again, the only thing you can come up with on him is to knock him is say he's small.
Yeah.
And but man, he may be small, but so's Ibuka Corey of Stanford. They're small guards in this draft, some of them, but
I love a
they can
Corey.
play.
I love
Man,
a
he can
Corey.
really get to the rim.
Man. Uh, Guy out of nowhere this year is actually from Louisiana, Alan Graves from Santa Clara. came on the scene, man. Wow. What a year he had.
Yeah, and when you look back to Jalen Williams being at Santa Clara, and not much was known by the general, fan about Jalen when he came out of Santa Clara, and look what he's done in the NBA. I'm not saying that Alan Graves is going to be the same,
Right.
but another, because he's not as athletic. Graves is not as athletic as
No.
Jalen Williams was, but good size at 6'7", long arms, and he's talented. He's got really good instincts, is what I would say. Not a stellar athlete. He's not one of those guys that you go, man, this dude can jump out of the gym, or he's got great speed or anything like that. He just gets stuff done out there. He knows how to play, instinctive feel for the game. And he's got an upside to his game because of the way he processes things out there, but not a finished product yet. And but that you probably expect that of most freshmen, like uh,
Exactly.
and we've talked about this before. I mean, when Tim Duncan was at Wake Forest, he came out of Wake and he was a 22-year-old senior that had a lot to learn. He was a rookie that had a lot to learn. And now, if you're 22 years old, people are going, "But geez, is this kid going to wear Depends when he gets there? Like he's too old." I don't get it.
Uh, the kid that's like people love him, but I haven't seen him play almost is the kid Jaden Quinston's. It was at Kentucky and he with the knee problem, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone loves him defensively and etcetera, but, I'm nervous about ACLs. That's just me,
Yeah,
you know.
so that gives you some pause. Quainton started his career at Arizona State,
Correct, yeah.
and one of the best shot blocker rebounders you're ever going to see. Ridiculous measurables. Like he's 6'9", he's huge, like he's a substantial body. But his wingspan is like 7'6". His arms go forever. He's one of those guys that could probably scratch his ankles without bending down at all. But he's kind of an unknown in a lot of different areas because of the injury. He didn't play much at Kentucky, and I think he was expected to really change their defense, and he couldn't get
Right.
on the floor because of the injury and some issues that he had during the season as a result of injury. But rebounding, shot blocking, defensive versatility, he's a high pick, justified as a high pick. He does not have a lot of offensive game. Like he doesn't shoot the ball particularly well. He doesn't have like a go-to thing that defines him as an offensive player. So you're basically saying, all right, the baseline is all the things he can do defensively and on the glass. If the offense comes, great. And because of his athleticism, you have to think that he's going to continue to get better as an offensive player as he has reps. But you take him and from 15 to 25, I don't think you're going to get any complaints.
So you broadcast and work out at the, Chicago Combine each year, and I actually was sitting there this year and watched Cameron Carr play for, the first half of this one game, and the scout sitting next to me said, "I hope people were watching because 'cause you're not gonna see him tomorrow." And it was as good a one-day performance as I've seen at the Combine in years, and obviously gave him a first-round promise from someone. But they didn't have a great year, Baylor, unusually for them, but man, what a shooter.
Yeah, and super athletic. I first saw him at Tennessee. So he started his career at Tennessee, and when he wasn't playing, I don't think he redshirted, but he wasn't available to play. And I think it was in Maui. I'm watching Tennessee practice. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And my jaw was on the floor, and I'm thinking this is the best NBA prospect on the at least in this practice. And
Wow.
Greg Polinsky,
Right,
longtime NBA
right.
NBA assistant scout, and he's on the staff. He's one of Rick Barnes' assistants, and so I was talking with Polinsky after practice, going, "What the hell who is this guy?" And he was saying he's our best prospect. It's Cameron Carr, And at the time, he couldn't go as long in practice because he was dealing with a slight asthma issue, and clearly that's not an issue anymore because at Baylor, like he never came out of the game. Uh, Crazy athlete, really good athlete, long wingspan, 7 foot wingspan, and he couldn't be more than 6'5". But he really refined his ability to shoot the ball, and so he checks a lot of boxes. And the jump that he made from when I saw him at Tennessee to what he did last year is pretty substantial, and it makes you think that he's got more steps on that ladder to keep going.
Uh, I love the journey of Bennett Sturts, right from Northwest Missouri State to Iowa to Drake to Iowa, uh, and all of a sudden now he didn't shoot it well during the year, but now when he went to Chicago, shot the heck out of it. I've always thought he's going to be a good pro, maybe as a backup, but I think he's got great, as you mentioned before, tempo and stuff. Did you like him when you saw him during the year?
Yes, and especially when he was at Drake, what he did at Iowa, just on top of that, one of the things I think about is Kyle Korver, and they're not the same player. I'm not suggesting
Sure.
that Spritz is Kyle Korver, but when Kyle Korver was coming out of Creighton, I remember talking to Dana Altman, and I'm saying, like, I really like him, but what do you think in the NBA, like athletically and defensively? And Dana kind of agreed with me, saying that's the one concern I have is kind of who does he guard, and how long did Korver play in the league? Like,
Right, for
Dana and I were just overthinking it,
yeah,
and I feel the same way about Bennett Sturts. Like,
that's a great point.
he doesn't have crazy size, but man, can he, like, his footwork is great. He knows how to get to certain spots. He's got a terrific shot fake, and he does the things that he does really, really well. And he can play with the ball in his hands, and he reads pick and rolls very well. And he makes really smart plays, like the play that they beat Florida with. He was the one that caught the ball initially on that
Yeah,
little banana cut, and then
um,
made the pass, and it was a bounce pass.
no one makes
Um,
a bounce pass that
yeah,
distance anymore. No one.
it made a bounce pass. And that's not the only thing. The NBA is not looking for the best bounce passers, but he knows how to play, and he's ultra competitive. And the fact, to your point, like the journey that he's had, the fact that he's navigated all these different levels
Keeps
of
going up.
play, and he keeps going up, and he keeps getting better. And he's going to have I think he's going to have a good career in the NBA. He's going
I
to he's going to help somebody.
Hey, we got some of these big guys. Okay, I'm gonna Cenac, Koa Pete, Kareem Lopez, Taurus Reed, uh, Ejiofor from St. John's. There's a group of them that are highly competitive. If they go to the right team, I think they really fit. You agree?
Yes,
And
I
that's the
do
key.
agree.
The team that they go to, I think.
Yeah, and I think so. Starting with Chris Sinak Jr. of Houston, you see some of these lists here and there, and he's in the 20s or all that. I think his talent suggests he could go higher than that. He's 6'10". He's got a 7'5" wingspan. He's athletic. He can, like, when he got to Houston to play for Kelvin Sampson, he didn't have much of an offensive game. And, midway through the season, toward the end of the season, he's making pull up jump shots, and he's got a high release on the shot. He's got a nice touch. He was developing an offensive game in addition to what he can do on the glass, because he's a high level rebounder, and he's a legit defender. So I think he's one of those guys that deeper down in the first round, um, people are going to go, wait a minute, at 20, we got Chris Sinak Jr. He was worthy of a lottery pick. I
I
feel that
agree.
way about him.
I
Um,
agree.
he's very, very good. And Koa Pete, I think you mentioned,
Yep.
he burst onto the scene this year in college by scoring 30 against Florida in an Arizona win, and people are like, "Oh my god!" Like he's big, strong, burly. Um, right now, he's a mid-range player and a rim scorer only. Like he doesn't have a perimeter shot.
No.
And honestly, Brendan, I thought he was going to go back to college. Like
He
I thought that was
he probably should have.
that's just my opinion, and I don't fault anybody. It's their decision. So it's not, I'm not
100%.
saying it's a bad decision.
Right.
The only reason I thought that was this draft is so loaded that if he goes back and he's going to get paid in college, go back, work on some things, and get even better, and then you'll be a higher pick next year in the draft, and in my view, more prepared. But
Y like
you,
Tho like Thomas Howell would have been a lottery pick, and he
yes,
decided to go back because he's gonna be a really high lottery pick, in my opinion, next year. But I agree with you on that. I think him, Ejiofor also is undersized big, but plays with a huge motor.
yeah, and
From
another guy that his arms go forever. So he's only 6'7", but he's got a I think it's 7'2", 7'3" wingspan. But you're
Wow,
right. Like he does have a high revving engine, and he showed he can knock down a perimeter shot. He started his career at Kansas,
that's
and I'm sure
incredible.
Kansas would have loved to have had him last year.
Yeah.
But he competes at a high level. He just doesn't have great size. Another big guy. I think I would classify him as a big guy. That I think is going to go in the first round because he knows how to play is Joshua Jefferson, that played at
Yeah,
Iowa State.
they missed him in the NCAA, boy.
Oh, no question. Yeah, I think they
Boy.
had a legit Final Four shot if
Yep.
they had him in the lineup, but after that injury, that ankle thing, yeah, that really hurt them. But talk about a guy that is multi-skilled. He started out at St. Mary's playing for Randy Bennett,
No
and then he,
way. I
he
didn't
goes
know
to
that.
Iowa State. And being from California myself, choosing to leave the weather in Moraga, California, to go to Iowa State,
Okay,
kind of maybe
decision
there's
make
a judgment problem there.
decision making we give check.
But he's a great player, and like another Iowa State guy, George Niang, had a high skill level coming out where he didn't have this crazy athleticism. I actually think Joshua Jefferson might be a better player in college than Niang was, and Niang was great,
Great
but
college player.
he's got he brings a veteran presence in from day one. You're not gonna have to babysit Joshua Jefferson. He's gonna come in and whether he plays a little or a lot, he's gonna be a positive influence on a roster.
Jay, you mentioned I really think that one of the characteristics that I'm not sure you and I are talking about him, but the evaluation process of the draft, I think who coached them is really important because if you got Randy Bennett coaching you, TJ coaching you, Patino coaching you, Dusty May coaching you, John Shire, Kelvin Sampson, you check a lot of different boxes there of if you play for 5 of those guys, you got the toughness to hang in the NBA because you took a lot of crap every day in practice from those guys, but you got better. I think it's a big factor that we gotta start putting in there if we don't.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And to me, it goes to the issue of humility. And by humility, I don't mean, when you're talking to a player. Like I think all good players have an ego. You want a player with an ego. You want them to believe in themselves and believe that they're
Sure.
good. So you're not. When I say humility, I'm not saying a player has to say, "Hey, man, you're a really good player." Oh no, I'm not that good. I'm not saying that. But humility in that they know it's not about them, and when you get with a team, whether it's college team, NBA team, you know, I'm going to do everything I can to make us good. And I think some of these guys that we're talking about have that in them. That they're not all me first guys, and that's kind of refreshing.
So, there's a couple of guys that are gonna be late first, second round picks. Any that you are some of your quote unquote, because you've observed them, favorites?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Malik Thomas of Arkansas, who played
Mhm.
alongside Darius Acup Jr.
Love him.
Another he can really score, and he's conscience free as a shooter. Not that he takes bad shots, but like he
I'm writing some of these down. Reasonable disagreement is one of my favorites I've ever heard. Conscious free. I love it. Go ahead, brother.
but he's got a terrific shooting touch, and he gets it off quickly. He can create his own. I think he's a late first rounder. But he knocked down 42% of his threes. Who knows? I mean, I don't. I, there are certain guys you thought might pull out of the draft. He was one of those.
Mm.
But now that he's staying in, I think he's got an opportunity to be a really good scorer in the NBA.
Size also defensively could be
Yes,
really good, I think.
yes.
Um, how about our friend from UConn who seems to be everyone is so in love with him? Danny Hurley wants to adopt him as his son. What do you think of his favorite captain of all time, who I think will go late first, early second round?
Yeah, Alex Caravan. So he's
Love
gonna,
him.
Danny's gonna have more players drafted. I mean, Terrace Reed Jr. is going to be drafted. Probably, I think there's
Love
a
him.
fair chance he goes in the first round because he's big, strong, burly. He can rebound. He can score around the rim, and take up a lot of he can take up a lot of space in there and create his own space. He has a hard time fitting through doorways. Uh, but Alex Caravan is he's just one of those winners that knows how to play. And he got a little bit of a funky release on his shot, but he can shoot it. He's an excellent passer. He's really smart. And he'll fit in anywhere. I think he'll probably wind up being a very early pick, if not the first pick of the second round. He could go in the first round. But I think it's more likely he winds up just sneaking into the second. But it doesn't matter where he's drafted. He's gonna help you win, and he'll be a team guy from the opening, from the first day. And you're never gonna have to worry. You're never gonna have to beg him to play. You're never gonna have to worry about him. He's always gonna be on time, and he'll elevate your culture.
He'd be a great pick for the Knicks at 31, first pick of the second round.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Perfect fit, fans and everything there. Um, I think there's a couple of guys that, you like. I know uh, our kid from Duke, Isaiah Evans.
Mhm.
Boy, he's. I had one team tell me that he was one of the most incredible interviews they did in Chicago as a human being. Just knew who he was, had amazing self awareness and stuff, and only cared about winning, which is which when you're there to talk about yourself and you talk about winning, I think it's really pretty it was very impressive.
Yeah, he
Um,
can really shoot it. Like he's a flamethrower. And he went from being his freshman year to kind of being a standstill 3-point shooter. Yeah, he had like 6 threes in the first half of a game his freshman year against Auburn. He had 18 points the first half. I don't think he scored in the second half of that game, but like it came out of nowhere. He hadn't even been playing. And then Shire puts him in the game. He racks up 18 points on the number one team in the country at that time.
right.
But in year two, he became more of a downhill driver. In addition, like his shooting, he was working more off screens and way more movement in order to get open for shots. And then he was used where he would be the screener and then pop out to the 3-point line and create shots that way. Iverson cuts, you name it, a lot of flare screen stuff, and catch and shoot, and then he would attack closeouts. And so he was getting to the rim more often and getting to the foul line. And even though he's not the strongest looking character on the floor, he really showed that he was willing to put his head down and attack. And he wasn't going to worry about contact. That he was more than just a shooter. So he showed a real improvement from his freshman to his sophomore year.
So you and I have I'm never going to say something about you and me in the same sentence. I was going to say myself, I have a fetish for small guards. You don't have any fetishes. I'm sorry. I'm protecting you. Uh, I love small guards that can play because I love pick and rolls. Ibuka Okori, we talked about from Stanford. I think it's such a cool story how the kid was going to go to Harvard and play for our friend, especially your dear friend and Tommy Amaker. And then at the last minute decides to go to Stanford. And Kyle Smith told a close friend of mine the other day, "Do you know how much NIL money he got?
No
Twenty
idea.
25,000.
Oh, is that right? What a bargain.
25,000. Think about that. Now I think he's gonna be a first round pick. I
Oh,
really
no
do.
question.
And I'm just saying, this is like and the kid's maybe just one of the smartest kids in the draft on top of it. I think that's such a cool story that the kid loves ball so much that he forgoes Harvard to go to Stanford, which is no slouch, and then forgoes money to, to go to the league. Now, it's just so neat. And I'll get a degree from Harvard or someplace down the line. You know, what a wonderful thing. I think he's going to be a tremendous pro. What by the right team, I think. What do
Well,
you think?
he can score. I mean, nobody could stay in front of him at Stanford. And
Yeah.
I did not know much about him when he was coming out of high school. And like when he showed up at Stanford, he starts torching people, and like his staying in front of him. He's got this jet like ability to get past you, but it's not all straight line drives. He maneuvers to get around people, and then he winds up. And part of it's because of his length, but the other part is his feel and skill level. Like he can score around the basket because of getting to the rim quickly, but also finishing creatively when there are big guys around. He's you mentioned he's small and he's close to being tiny, but he's got long arms, so he plays a lot bigger than the size would suggest. But when you can shoot it that way and create for yourself that way, and he's not afraid of anything or anybody, I really like him. He's fun. And
Yeah.
he's not fun to play against, but he's fun to watch because I know. I mean, I remember North Carolina going out there and he
Wow.
lit them up. They couldn't stay in front of him.
I just think that people are overlooking him because he wasn't the AAU guy type of thing, and I think he could become very special. I love the guys that go somewhere mid first or later, second round, and they become stars. Jalen Brunson, of course, one of them, but he was a star all along from high school on up. Any other players that jump out at you? We've gone through so many, but any you just that I might have missed? Are we discussing it all in your favorites?
I'm trying to think if there's anybody we've missed. I mean, there are players that I think are going to be heard from in there's one guy that I think will be kind of interesting as to how he's treated, and that's Richie Saunders of BYU.
Mm, good call.
Um, absent the injury, which was heartbreaking. I mean, he's having an unbelievable season. He can really shoot it. Another guy that moves without the ball. He plays his tail off every game. He can, for a guard, he can rebound. And Kevin Young loved him. And I think Richie Saunders is going to play in the end once he gets healthy. Like he's not going to be able to play right away because of that. It
Sure.
takes a while to get back from an ACL. And then a little known fact: his great great grandfather, I think it was his great great grandfather, or great grandfather, invented the tater tot, which
Puts him
has a
up in my
special place
spot.
in my
I
heart.
I might take him with a late first if that was the case.
Exactly. I mean, if you get some Ore-Ida tater tots out of it, that's a good deal. But Richie Saunders, I think, will be interesting to see where he goes.
Yeah, you can get him and sign him to a two-way contract and stuff, so he becomes a real financial bargain, but you're gonna have an NBA player at the end of the line after a year.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's good. Jay, man, I'll tell you what, I can't wait to watch you less than 2 weeks from, today. the 23rd and 24th in New York, in Brooklyn, and stuff like that. Also, Jay, you're going to be the keynote speaker at the Shia Clinic this year, and we are so excited to have you. August 18th and 19th, they'll be there. One of our fun events of the years too, that we get to learn from people and what a lineup he has. But I know Shia appreciates you coming in, stuff like that, and helping out and stuff. So it's going to be exciting. I look forward to seeing you in August, if not sooner.
I will definitely see you there, and I would never miss that. That is such a great learning experience.
It's one of those hometown university lessons for you. That's awesome. Appreciate you. Have fun in New York, and look forward to seeing you maybe at the Summer League.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, my friend.